Hey friends, over 60% of you are listening to me right now on an Apple product. iPhone, iPad, iTunes. I need your help. The truth is, Apple will make this podcast more discoverable to new listeners the more reviews it has. So I'm here asking you to take a moment and leave a review. If you've gained any value from this podcast, the greatest thing you can do for it, besides spreading the word and telling friends, is leaving a review. It's real simple. If you're on your phone, head over to my podcast page within the Apple Podcast app and leave a review. Or if you're on a computer, you can head over to my podcast page within the iTunes app. That's it. That's all I ask. And if you have other podcasts that you love, do them a favor and do the same for them. It'll make their day. Now let's get this podcast started already.
You've been doing podcasts for 11 years?
11 years. Yeah, I started out, oddly enough, with a wrestling podcast in 2007, and Dallas was actually a guest twice on the show. He did it once in 2010, and then again in 2013, and I definitely... As we get into that story where he comes into your life and all that, we could definitely talk about it, because I'll tell you what, he tried to help me at one point, and at that time I just wasn't ready. You know what it is. You probably have had people in your ear all your life telling you, I think people ultimately, they want the best for you, but sometimes certain people can be more pushier than others. And I had people in my life that were telling me, you got to do this, you got to do that. And we know this, right? Like, it's not like it's some big surprise. Like, we're well aware that, something needs to be done, but sometimes we're just not ready. We need to wait till, like in your case, you have that moment where you see something that inspires you and it just kind of gets that click and you're ready to go. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So how, tell me about this. And by the way, this is how we roll on this podcast. We just roll right into it. Like, when you go back and hear it later, you hear some music fade in and then it just catches us talking. It's like people catch it right in the middle of the conversation. So it's kind of like they're sneaking in on a private conversation, which I love.
All right. So we've been recording the whole time, huh?
You bet we have.
So I shouldn't be cussing then, huh?
You can say whatever you want. I don't put any filter on my show, and especially when you talk about the journey you've been on, sometimes the expletives help to express it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I get a little fired up on this thing.
Well, they called, there was a guy I used to work with said I'm a walking hostile work environment. So,
yeah. I love it.
I'm apt to cuss at any moment.
Say whatever you feel, man. The floor is yours on that. But let's start with this, actually. Have you been, throughout your life, were you always a bigger guy? Is this something that happened early on or later in life? Like, when did you become like a bigger guy?
Well, I mean, we've always had big genes in my family on both sides, but I played sports through high school and a little 1 year college and was active, but I really started putting it on after college, and I've been struggling since college, Right. I've been big ever since then. I've been running, 250 to 300 to all the way up to 475.
Man, that is, I'll tell you what, I got nearly to 4. I was very close. I was like right on that line. And I think once you hit 4, there's kind of that mindset where you're like, okay, something's got to give, right? I mean, it really kind of hits you.
Well, I tell you, 400 is, for me, it was a defining weight. You start having physical problems, taking care of your personal needs, getting dressed, bathroom, tying your shoes.
You wake up in a lot of pain?
Absolutely. Knees, especially.
Oh, man.
Back and knees, that kind of stuff.
I'm still feeling the effects from that, although I would say that, to be fair, it's gotten a hell of a lot better. I've dropped about 115 myself, and I'll tell you, awesome. Thank you, man. I'll tell you this. It's like when I used to wake up, and maybe you could speak to it if you've had something similar, but it feels like the moment my feet hit the ground getting out of the bed, I'd have these pains that shot up from my foot to my ankles, to my knees, to my legs, and ultimately into my back as well. That's really kind of where the pain kind of stopped in my back area, but never fails. Every morning I was waking up the moment my feet touched the floor out of the bed. It was just shooting pains.
Absolutely. I mean, it's it's not the years, it's the miles. It's how much weight and how many miles you put on them babies.
That's right. I could tell you this, Vance. I lived on ibuprofen for probably 4 or 5 years. Like every day, I was taking probably 8 pills a day. It's crazy.
I was taking prescription naproxen for my knees,
right?
Heavy doses for a long time, and back in 2012, I ended up in the hospital in ICU for about 5 or 6 days, and they diagnosed me with congestive heart failure at that time.
Really?
But I really believe no doctors ever told me this, but I really believe that it was from taking the naproxen, because every time I start taking the naproxen again, I start feeling those fluid retention feelings in the chest and breathing difficulties, and I'm 100% convinced that it's the naproxen, but that's my personal lay opinion. No doctors ever confirmed or supported me on that.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you speak there, and obviously you can only speak for yourself, but I will tell you this. There's something to be said about when you're living on medication and when you're not, and I think that there's something to that where these pills, they're supposed to make you feel better, but after being on them long enough, they just start to tear you down.
Absolutely. I've taken a handful for a long time, but since I've dropped this weight, I've cut back a lot. I used to take 2 different beta blockers and 3 blood pressure medicines, and I've cut back. I've gone down to 1 blood pressure medicine now, no beta blockers, and
that is awesome.
It's awesome.
That is freaking awesome, dude. So before you originally, because I think when I'm watching your video here, you're saying that you saw Bert Kreischer doing a video. Before we get to that point, though, did you ever try in years past to get something started? Was it always like, hey, let's, like start and stop? You couldn't get something going, or was this the first time you made like a real effort to want to change?
No, over the years, I've dieted hundreds of times. I've lost weight ever since the 90s when I got out of law school. The Atkins diet was the crave. Was the rave back then, and so ever since then I lost a good bit of weight on Atkins, and then but at some point I would always eat bread and eat pasta and then blow back up and crave it.
Yeah.
And so, but for 20 years, the diet I always did was some form of the low carb, paleo type, keto type, try to go to ketosis and restricted carb restriction diet. And I always lost weight on it, but I always eventually fell off of it and gained it all back plus some.
Yeah, it's especially this is such a unique time right now that we're doing this podcast in January of 2019, because this is like right around the time where there's a lot of people that they want to make that New Year's resolution. They want to start to lose the weight, and I've fallen in this trap so many times. I'm sure you have as well. It's January, new year, new me. Let's get something started. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I did it every year. I would have posted on my social media every year. I'm starting my diet for the 43rd time this year or something like that every year.
Yeah. And so when does Bert Kreischer come into the picture?
Well, I started getting into podcasts, started listening to podcasts, and started listening to Bert Kreischer. I heard his machine story on the radio a few years ago, so I started, I love him. And
he's great.
I can relate to him, a frat boy partier from Florida. I can relate to that type of personality,
Yeah.
And so he was one of a bunch of podcasts I was listening to, but I really got to listen to him serious. It was about the time of their first sober October. I caught him kind of in the middle of it.
Right.
when they were doing the hot yoga, and they bet Bert that he couldn't stay sober a month, and they said he was going to die and all kinds of stuff. And
Was
you
was
know,
wasn't that the thing that Joe Rogan, wasn't that like a challenge he was doing on there?
there were four guys: Tom Segura, Joe Rogan, Ari Shafir, and Bert
Ah,
Kreischer.
yes. Now I
And it's
remember.
those
Yep.
four guys, and they, whenever they get together, they always abuse Bert because he's such an affable and a personable guy,
He
and they
really
always,
is.
yeah, and they always fuck with him, constantly,
He
and so
He,
go ahead.
and I was just going to say, he did my podcast in 2013. One of the nicest guys. I followed him on Twitter, and this was at the time I was still doing a wrestling podcast, but I was trying to branch off and do like everything, because sometimes you talk enough wrestling and you just get bored to death with it. So I was starting to want to get comedians and actors and everything on, and so I've been just riding his ass on Twitter, hitting him up, hey, come on. And finally I was live. This was a live radio show, and he DMs me on a Sunday afternoon with his phone number and says, call me, because he saw that I was live on the show, and I called him, and we did an hour of radio, and exactly what you said, a very personable guy, very friendly guy. My wife and I went out to see his comedy show in Baltimore. We actually live in the DC area, but we drove to Baltimore because he wasn't coming to DC anytime soon, and got to talk with him for about a half an hour after the show, and just one of the nicest guys. And, for somebody like me at that time, I'm just kind of getting my footing as far as the radio and podcasting, and he didn't have to do that. I mean, he's Bert Kreischer. He's on Travel Channel at this time. He's doing the comedy. This guy's busy, and he gave me his number. He's like, man, text me anytime you want. Hit me up. I never did because I always felt like I'd be bothering him, and but just such a nice guy. And I love the parallels here because you're connected with Dallas, you're connected with Bert. I've connected with both of these guys. We're both losing weight. I feel like there's a connection here, Vance. We're making a connection, brother.
That's right. A bonding moment.
And you know what the interesting thing about this podcast is, Vance? Everybody that comes on this show, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 people, I've never spoken to them ever in my life. Like when we cut on the mics, this is the very first time we talk, and people that listen to this, like we've been talking for years. And I find that to be so unique. And that's what I love about the power of Instagram and the power of community and getting to interact with people. So I'm glad that we're here. And Bert, man, what a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I agree wholeheartedly on everything you're saying. I think it's also the beauty of the medium, that the beauty of this type of art form, the podcast, where it's just conversational and just getting to know somebody on a personal level. I think it's a lot of that too.
Definitely. So you've seen this challenge. They're doing this challenge. It's the 4 guys, and so this is you're following along intently. You're inspired by this.
Yeah, and they all make it. They all make Sober October. They give Bert hell, and they had a great time. It was funny as hell. It was it really caught my attention. And then after the Sober October, they were kind of betting each other what they could do, and they got to messing with Bert again, and they told him he couldn't run a half marathon. and Bert, at this point, he's talking about he's got the Mickey Mantle gene, and
right.
he can do anything, and so at first the bet's going, and they're setting the time frame off, for a little while, and by the end of the show, they're drunk and stoned and everything else, and by the end of the show, it's 2.5 weeks. He's got to run a half marathon, and so I'd forgotten about it, and I was waking up Sunday morning, November the 19th, I think it was, and getting ready for football. I was drinking coffee, and I was checking my Instagram, and I see a video of Bert running across the finish line of the St. Pete's half marathon, and I'm just sitting there thinking, if this silly sumbitch can run a half marathon on 2.5 weeks notice, I can get off this couch and do something. I can do something. And so I made a video, and I posted it to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, message to Bert, and I tagged them all. And I said, you've inspired me. And Bert's the only one that responded, and I think he replied and tagged Tom Segura and said "changing lives."
Yeah.
Something like that. So that got me pumped up. So the next morning I went on, I weighed myself. I got a talking scale, a videotaped myself on the scale being weighed in November the 20th. And I weighed in at 475 pounds. And that was the start of my weight loss journey.
Man, that's incredible.
So, I'd been thinking about losing weight, and I'd went and had my heart checked out about a month or two before, sometime before. And they said it was okay. That's another reason why I think it's the side effect of the medicine. Yeah. They said my heart was fine. And so I was thinking about exercise, and then I seen Bert do that, and I said, shit, I'm going to get off his chow.
And, real quick, the thing about that, too, that you mentioned where you get your heart checked out and it's okay. I recall at one point having everything checked out and the doctor telling me, like, I don't know why you're not he actually said, I don't know why you're not more worse off given the condition you're in. And isn't this crazy, Vance, how we get so big and we think to ourselves, man, we must be going to shit, man. We must be killing ourselves. We're on the verge of death. And they go and check out your heart and you're like, actually, buddy, you're doing okay with this heart thing. You just need to work on the rest. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. No, it's everything checked out except my high blood pressure and stuff.
Well, fair enough.
Joints. Something that resonated with me around that time. Do you know who Ralphie May was?
Oh, yeah.
He passed away sometime a few months before this time period. And all of those comedians, Joe and all those guys I was following were listening to, talking about him.
Right.
And they were, and I think I watched one of his shows, and like right before he died, he had a bit about how he went to the doctor and everything checked out fine, and the doctor couldn't believe it, and then he passed away.
That's crazy.
So that kind of resonated with me a lot,
Well, you know what it is, Vance. It's like, man, we get one at bat for life, and
yeah.
if we don't make the most out of it, like, do you watch baseball at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've kind of drifted off, but I used to watch it a lot.
Fair enough. So you'll understand. It's like in life, we can either ground out to third and have a pretty piss poor life and just walk around and just kind of exist. You hit the ground and you're like, well, whatever. You walk back to the dugout because you're like, I'm getting paid. Or you walk up and you knock the hell out of that ball so hard that either you're gonna hit over the fence or you're gonna have that damn outfielder scrambling for the wall trying to catch that ball because you knocked it so hard. And I look at life a lot like that. And I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Washington Nationals, and man, it's tough to be a Nationals fan right now. But the whole thing is I look at life like that, man. We can just exist and walk around and just be here on planet Earth, or we can do something about it. And why not try to make the most out of life,
Absolutely. Life is our most precious. Time is our most precious commodity, and
yeah,
you got to decide what activities you want to spend it on.
Absolutely. And so you're watching Bert Kreischer videos and this thing just kind of it was like that aha moment.
That's right. And then from there, I started walking, went back, did my low carb, started walking.
Yeah.
I went to aqua aerobics class because I figured my knees would do it. An ortho had told me I qualified for 2 knee replacements because I'm bone on bone.
Oh, yeah.
And but he said he wouldn't do it unless I got down to 300 pounds. And so, I didn't have anything to do but try to lose weight. And so I started walking, and I started doing the aqua aerobics, started doing the low carb, and that's when the community really started getting behind me. And I was posting everything on social media. I started with just basically two ideas. I knew when I started, I wanted to say I wanted to post everything online for accountability.
Yep.
And I wanted to say yes to because I can't tell you how many times in my life that I've started diets or exercises, and I do it myself and my wife and I. And
sure.
It's so easy to fall off when it's just you two.
Yeah.
But if you've got somebody who's meeting you there, you're supposed to show up, supposed to do things, then there's a whole another set of accountability and responsibility. And so I told myself, if someone offers something, I'm going to say yes, no matter what it is, no matter how far outside my comfort zone it is.
Yeah.
And And so that got me trying all kinds of stuff, body pump and,
Yeah.
yoga. I mean, I tried all kinds of stuff. I would just say yes and try new things. And eventually I got to, where I am today, but it got, it just got the the ball rolling down the hill.
I love what you said about getting out of your comfort zone and just saying yes. I've talked about it. People that have heard this podcast 100 times will probably roll their eyes and say, "Okay, Gary," but people that are new, they'll want to hear this. There is a channel on YouTube that you should definitely check out. They're called Yes Theory. And the whole premise of their channel is to get people to say yes and seek discomfort and get out of their comfort zone, challenge themselves to do something. Like, for example, they'll get in an Uber car and ask the Uber driver, "Would you like to go skydiving with us right now? Like, you're our ride to the skydiving place." And the guy's got to say yes or no. And a couple of them said yes.
Oh, man.
They had a thing where they went on Instagram and they were using the Instagram stories and they said, "Hey, we're in Europe right now. We're at the airport. Should we fly north or should we fly south?" And they were letting people on Instagram control their lives for 24 hours. You got to check these guys out. They're amazing. Yeah. They have like 3 million followers on YouTube. They don't need my help, but man, I'm going to tell everybody about them because they've inspired me so much.
Oh, man. I'm going to check them out. That's awesome, man. But no, I'm a firm believer. I mean, I think you need to take won't and can't and ain't and those type of verbs out of your vocabulary. If you're, you've gotten to your point in life doing the things that you've always done.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to make a difference or make a change is to do something you haven't done. And so you're going to have to try things that you previously wouldn't do or won't do or can't do or, I'm not going to eat that or I've got to have that. You've got to take those things out of your vocabulary and be willing to try new things.
What we're doing right now is something that me a couple of years ago would never do. You just meet somebody and, hey, let's just jump on a podcast like that. When I used to interview people on my old one, I would be nervous. You ask my wife, I used to pace around the apartment. Like if Dallas or somebody was calling in, I'd be pacing around the apartment so freaking nervous because I don't know how to process it. And now through this weight loss journey, and I think that not only do you lose weight, not only do you get healthier, but I think mentally, which is where I focus on heavily, you gain so much more from a mental perspective when I operate on 4 pillars in life: patience, consistency, hard work, and love yourself. And I'm a big believer in mental health, and I think it's super important for any weight loss journey. If you don't have your shit up here together, you're destined to failure. And I think about how much just weight loss aside, how much more life I've gained and how much more confidence and the wanting to do things out of the comfort zone, talking to complete strangers and walking up to Busch Gardens 3 months ago and giving some lady a free ticket just out of the blue, doing just random acts of kindness, talking to strangers, just trying things out of my comfort zone. And what I found that in life, it just has opened me up to a whole new world.
Absolutely. And one thing I've learned from Dallas and Bert is that those guys are always on. I mean,
yeah.
In a drop of a hat, at a moment's notice, they are talking, they're interviewing, they're in character, they're telling jokes, they're entertaining. I mean, those guys are. There's a reason that they've gotten to the position that they're at today because they're able to do those things.
Definitely. For you, when does Dallas walk into the picture? I know we talked about Bert. When does Dallas come in? How far along are you?
About 6 weeks in.
Okay.
Got through the December. I was down, I don't know, 60 pounds, maybe 50, 60 pounds. And the first of the year, I think it was January 1st, a year ago.
Okay.
We were taking my son down to culinary school, and I saw his Twitter reply to one of my posts. He said, if you want some real guidance, holler at me, and I'll help you out. But, he didn't put it that way. It's a lot of bro and bro.
Yeah, bro.
And I didn't know who he was.
Really?
I was never a wrestling fan. I didn't know who he was. And so I just said, yeah, I'm interested because I didn't know who he was. And then some people saw it on my Twitter feed, and they started blowing it up, saying, "Man, if Dallas is gonna give you any help, you'd be a fool not to take it." People were just messing with me, saying, So at that point, I went back and wrote a long message to him.
Yeah.
And then he texted me his cell number and told me to call him. And
that's
in
Dallas.
In fact, I think I called him the wrong name on the first time I called him.
Yeah.
I left him a message. I think I called him Dallas Diamond Page or something like that. I think I got it backwards. And so I don't know, but man, he's a saint, man.
The first time I ever talked to Dallas, we had him booked for the first podcast in 2010, and he asked the guy, because I had a guy helping me out to book the interviews, and he said, "What's the interviewer's number? I want to talk to him." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm on a lunch break at my day job at this point," and my buddy texts me, says, "Hey, Dallas is going to give you a call in like 5 minutes." I said, "What?" And he ends up talking to me for nearly an hour. I had to go hide out in the bathroom of the job so my boss wouldn't find me, because I'm on the phone with this wrestling legend, this guy that I watched for years. And, he's talking about, at that point it was called YRG before it became DDP Yoga. And he was just talking about, like, here's the program, by the way, how much do you weigh? Are you looking to do anything with this? He's like, bro, I'll help you, bro. That's no problem, and that's exactly what it was. And at that time, it never really stuck for me, right? And then so in 2013, I get him back on because he's trying to help out a buddy of mine who was on another internet radio show. And so I book him on my show again, and he's like, "All right, if you really want the help, I'll help you." And so I get the program in the mail, and I gave it a real honest shot, and no joking around, Vance. I lost 50 pounds in a matter of 2 months.
Yeah, I believe it.
But of course, as we talked about, you start eating the comfort stuff and you balloon back up, and that was on me. The program works. Okay. You know this. I know this. People out there that are watching these videos that he's putting out, they probably know it, but it actually works if you stick with it.
Did you do his nutrition program or just the DDP?
I did do the nutrition program, and that was hard for me at the time because I was very stubborn, because I'm actually a really picky eater. That's the problem where I come in. I don't know how you are with food, but with me, there's like maybe 5 or 6 different types that I eat, and everything else is off limits.
Yeah. Well, now the food is really what I mean. I've really enjoyed the food. I mean, it's being low carb for so many years, and it's really given me a lot more food choices than the low carb, because you can eat gluten-free bread, you can eat potatoes,
right?
You can, as long as his big thing is no gluten, no no gluten, no dairy.
Yeah.
And he made me watch, before he'd work with me, he made me watch 3 movies: the Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Food Inc. and Genetic Roulette. And then once I watched those 3 movies, then he'd work with me. But the what I took away from those 2 movies was that that you don't need to eat anything genetically modified, which is most of your wheat, soy, and those type of products. And so, the DDP wants you to eat organic, non-genetically modified foods, and grass-fed meats, and keep your protein to 4 to 6 ounces, and just eat all the veg. And basically, I've tweaked it a little more more restrictive than his. I've cut out the fruit.
Really?
Anything that makes my sugar go up and down. Because I'll crave stuff if I eat something that affects my sugar.
Yeah.
And so I try to stick with just the protein and the veggies, and I eat 4 to 6 ounces of protein, and I eat veggies with the meals and breakfast. I do eat some gluten-free oatmeal in the morning. and with a couple of boiled eggs and avocado. But I mean, it's really been a good diet. And I eat some nuts sometime, but I know if I eat nuts or gluten-free chips that I'm probably not going to lose weight over that time period. I'm probably gain. But if I keep the nuts and the fruit and the snacks down and stay on his meal plan, I'll lose weight, man.
Yeah, I love
amazing.
I love what you said about, customizing it a little bit. I think that that's where people sometimes they fall short, where, here's the plan. And sometimes if you follow it a little too closely, it will set you up to fail because maybe there's something in there that you don't like, or even with the workouts, if you're doing it exactly to a T at times, I think that you're setting yourself up for failure. However, if you customize it like you have, you tweak it just a little bit, right, to play to your strengths, and you still put in the hard work and all that, I think that is really where you learn how to win right there.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. It's all about tweaking it, and everybody is different. Everybody's body is different, and
yep.
You just got to learn what your body needs to survive. Treat it as fuel, and and do what you need to do to lose weight and get to the shape you want to get into. So
yeah, I'll tell you this now. I'm sure you've seen the video by now, but when I first saw the DDP Yoga, the video he had about Arthur Borman, I'm sure you've seen this by now. Is that not crazy?
That is crazy.
You see that? I show that to anybody because I was telling a couple people about the yoga. They said, it comes up in a conversation. Yoga, what the hell is that going to do? I said, you want to see what it does? Watch this. Send him the video, and here's this guy that could barely walk, and now he's running by the end of the video. Yeah. It's crazy. When I see your video, though, which now is like 21 million views, by the way. This is crazy.
In a week, that's beyond crazy.
I saw this video, and this is how I found you. I'm fighting back tears by the end of this video.
Those guys do a good job, don't they? Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, it was hitting me right in the feels because you're just like, man, here I am. I'm 475. And then I think the first video after that, well, I went up 3, damn it. And then the next one's like 468, and it's just toot.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, and just the positivity that radiated from you throughout that video. And that's what is so important is staying positive throughout. And by the end of this video, I'm just like, man, I'm fighting back the tears because this thing, I think, resonates with so many people. You probably can't even realize. I don't think any of us can realize the effect that a video like that has on the average person that stumbles upon it. I was scrolling through the comments. I don't know if you've gone through the comments. There's like 41,000 comments, and there's people in there that are just they're sharing their stories. And that one video has probably helped more people than we'll ever realize.
I haven't had it. It's been ever since they put out that video. My whole life's been turned upside down. It's been a whirlwind, and those stories that you talk about in those comments.
Yeah,
I've been getting direct messaging from people all over the world. I've been getting Instagram messages, Twitter messages. A lot of people on Facebook messages, voice and written messages, just telling me about their physical situation and their situation in life, and the heartbreaking stories, and then how that video's affected them. And I'm trying to answer as many as I can, and stay positive and try to get them to stay positive. But it's it's amazing out there, the people that need this program or some type of change in their life like this.
Think about it like this, Vance. Like, you watched this video of Bert that inspired you, and now you're in a video inspiring tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. Isn't that why? Like, we never know. And this is why I tell everybody, share your story, take lots of pictures, even if you don't necessarily share them all the time, take lots of pictures so it keeps you motivated and you're able to continue to see what you're doing. But if you can, and if you have the ability, share your story, because you never know who's watching, and you never know who you're going to inspire. I get messages from people. They say, hey man, I came across your story and it inspired me. And you know, I went to the gym today for the first time in years. And you read these kind of messages, it just blows you away, man. I mean, this is just
unbelievable.
You never know who's watching.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, man. This and you know, and you never know the true effect of what you may have on those people. You know, I mean, there's a lady from Scotland.
Yeah.
Lauren, I don't know if you've seen her on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
She started her video journal after watching my video, and she left a video and said I inspired her, and you know, it's pretty, brought me to tears, you know. And,
yeah.
There's just so many stories like that out there, man.
It's powerful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
When you started doing the yoga, what kind of issues did you have? Because I know when I tried to do it, you know, with the knees and everything, there was always the issue. Did you run into a lot of problems early on, kind of getting started with it?
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of the program, is that DDP teaches modifications. You know, he assumes you're an old broken up wrestler to begin with, you know,
yeah.
and he teaches you modifications. If you go to a yoga class, even a beginner one, they're going to expect you to twist into ways that fat people with horrible knees don't twist in.
Yeah.
But DDP teaches you modifications for each step of the way, and each modification and exercise leads you to the next level and to the next series of exercises. And those have modifications. You know, he has exercises for people who are bedridden.
Yeah.
He has exercises for people who are limited to a chair. He has exercise who is limited standing mobility. He has exercises getting you down on a mat. Then his regular program starts, you know, that's his rebuild series.
Yeah.
And then his beginner series starts, and then his intermediate and advanced. And, you know, it's a wonderful program. And, you know, there's no other program that really works to someone of our physical limitations like DDP does.
Yeah, definitely. It's very powerful. I saw, you mentioned watching the Jake the Snake movie. Once he started helping Jake, there's another wrestler, Scott Hall, and he helped him out. And I was just like looking at the transformation, because I remember, you know, I would see videos of Scott Hall at indie shows, and he used to look so rough and so beat up. And then I seen him on Dallas's videos, and then I actually saw him in person in New Orleans. This was the year he got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he just looked absolutely incredible.
Well, I mean, that's what the program does, is it teaches you flexibility, but it also increases, you know, your confidence and your overall mental outlook about life and about positively. You know, they're saying that they inspire people. That is what their program was. DDP talks about when he went on Shark Tank, they asked him, you know, what's a model? And he says, we inspire people. And they said, yeah, but how do you make money? He goes, we inspire people, you know.
That's right.
And so, you know, and I don't think it's really about money to them. I think it's really about inspiring him. If you make Steve Yu his partner,
yeah,
that's all they care about, is inspiring people. And, you know, I think the money's just an added benefit for these guys, you know?
Oh yeah. The one thing, you'll probably see this a lot on Instagram, maybe you've seen some of it, but there are a lot of companies that are like sharks in the water that will be up in your DMs. Hey bro, you have a great transformation. We're trying to sell this detox tea or these skin wraps or these diet pills and all this bullshit that does nothing. What they're really doing is they're preying on the insecurities of people like us before we got started, who didn't know, who tried everything. You know, we tried all the diets. I remember me in the early 2000s doing a lot of Stacker 2 Stacker 2 was like some big supplement that you could take. And it's just a lot of crap that people try to sell out there. And I love like what Dallas is doing. I like that you're out there documenting a journey. You're showing what is real. You know, you're showing real life. You're not sitting here pumping up a bunch of tea and wraps and all that other crap. You're like, I'm just doing X, Y, and Z, and this is how it works.
There ain't no magic pill. There ain't no magic exercise.
Amen.
There's just hard work and good food. And Dallas teaches you to eat organic, wholesome food.
Right.
Put in the hard work, you know, be positive and good things will come. And get on the mat.
Yeah, get on the mat.
Get on the mat.
I tend, people that have listened long enough, they know I bounce around a lot. I want to circle back to something you said a little earlier when you first started, how you just started walking. I tell a lot of people, like, when you're just starting out, you know, like, how do I get started? I'm so confused. You know, how do I get started on my journey? I'm like, just start moving. And the walking is, you said at one point in your video, you're like, for the first time, I completed this whole track without stopping. And that, I bet to you, was a huge milestone.
Well, yeah, the first night I walked that track, that first week.
Yeah.
It's a 0.6 of a mile, 0.6 tenths of a mile.
Right.
I stopped 8 times around that track. And my knees, my hips, my back, they were cramping, hurting, and I'd have to stop and let them, quit cramping, and then start moving again. But I made it around that first time, you know, and then it took me a few times to be able to get to where I could make it all the way around without having to stop.
Yeah, that is absolutely incredible. I know the first day I got started, this is today that we're recording this, January 3rd, is the 2-year anniversary of the day when I got started. And that first day I said, you know what? I have zero expectations other than I'm going to go for 1 hour and I'm going to try to go without stopping once. And so I just walked, and it was probably 2.5, 3 miles an hour. And I just walked, Vance, for an hour straight. And by the end of that hour, I was covered in sweat because my body didn't know. All my body knew was McDoubles and sweet tea and pizza rolls and all this other stuff. My body didn't know nothing about that treadmill. And you just start walking on that thing, and just day one, you're surprised. And now on May 4th, I'm going to go run a 10K.
That's awesome, man.
In Cincinnati. And, thank you. Last year, I can say last year now, I feel like it's still 2018, but last year was the first time I ever did a 5K, and that kicked my ass like you would not believe. So I know the 10K is going to be even worse, but in a good way.
Can you believe you ever thought you'd mention running a 10K in the same breath as your name?
Dude, I'll do you one better. Could you ever imagine paying for the privilege to go run a 5K, right?
That's right. Paying for it.
I'm paying for the privilege to sweat my ass off and gasp for breath and all this stuff. I'm paying for that. I think I paid for my first one was like $35. I paid $35. I could have bought 35 McDoubles for that price.
Yeah. but hey, I want to talk about your food, the McDoubles. That's something DDP told me early on.
Yeah.
A couple of things. He told me some kind of story, and I know I'm going to butcher it, but he said, how much did a Papa John's pizza cost in 1990? I don't know, $5.99, $6.99.
Sure.
So how much does it cost today? $5.99, $6.99. How in the fuck can that be? 28 years later, the pizza still costs the same. What are they putting in that thing? It ain't food. Everything else in the world went up. What are they making it with?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. What
they got to keep making that food cheaper and cheaper for the masses.
You got that right. When you were running hard at your biggest, what was one of your biggest guilty pleasure foods? Was it pizza or was it something else?
Oh man, I ate everything. Pizza. I ate everything. All of my families growing up. Outings and relationships and good times all involved alcohol and good food, and that was the Hinds tradition.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. This year I gave up 3 things this year: alcohol, pizza, and chocolate. And I got a bunch of people. They're like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that. I'm like, Just watch me.
You can do it. You can do it.
I've been clean off McDonald's for 2 years now. That was my biggest problem, actually, Vance. That was the biggest problem was I have a 70-mile round trip commute to work every day. And so on the ride home here in the Northern Virginia, DC area, the traffic is hellacious. And so to comfort myself on the ride home, I would stop at McDonald's every single afternoon and I would get 2 or 3 McDoubles with no ketchup, no mustard, add Big Mac sauce. Then I get 1 4-piece nugget and a medium chocolate shake 5 days a week, every single day without fail.
That's almost like Supersize Me.
Yeah. Yeah, that documentary blew me away because, and I had seen that documentary 3 or 4 times before I started this lifestyle where I was eating like that, and I knew what it was all about, but I think at the time I just didn't care. I was like, well, what the hell? I'm already fat. I'm probably dying. Who gives a shit? That's how I felt.
Well, I'd made up my mind that I was beyond, I was past the point of non-return.
Yeah.
I was just working to try to get my wife a pension when I'm gone. I was trying to get to an age where I vested and my wife would have a pension, after I was gone. Because I'd already told her I'm not going to be here. You need to be ready, And, I don't know, something changed. I decided I wanted to be here.
Yeah, that's when you have that realization, Vance, you're just like, man, I need to live. I need to be here. I need to keep going. And then I think sometimes we get lost along the way because we have this feeling multiple times, but I think just sometimes we just get lost along the way and we just don't know where the hell to go. We're just like, hey, what do we do? How do we get started? When do we get started? And then you fall into this trap all the time where it's just like you're ready to give up because God, I had one bad weekend and here we go. I'm just spiraling out of control again. I can't tell you how many times that happened to me.
And that's what I'm telling these people that are asking me for advice. Not that I'm, I know anything. I'm not I don't know anything about diet and exercise other than what I've done.
Bullshit. You lost over 200 now, right?
I'm right at 200 right now.
Yeah. Okay. I think you know a thing or two, man. Don't sell yourself short, buddy.
But, I tell them, I said, listen, this is a marathon. This is, our bodies don't treat food the way other people's bodies do it. You've got to realize what you can and can't eat, and you're going to slip up. You're going to have bad days. You're going to, stress is going to get you down. You're going to want to eat, and if you have a bad day, it ain't nothing. You've got the rest of your life to get this weight off. Just get back on there, start losing again. Don't. It ain't like we're either on or off. It's just good days and bad, ups and downs, and it's like life. Tomorrow's going to be a different day. Get back up here and get on the horse and get to riding.
That's right. I think a lot of people, they think, I had one bad day or a bad week and it's all over. But in reality, it's like we didn't put on that weight overnight. We didn't put it on over the course of a week or even a month. It's like, this is a long-term thing. It's a long-term play. And you that when I talk about the 4 pillars, the patience, consistency, hard work, love yourself, they're all equally important in my opinion, but patience, that's why that one's right at the top, because there are so many people that are walking around treating a weight loss journey like it's some class assignment due in 2 weeks. They're like, I got to lose this amount of weight. And, like when people say, I only lost 1 pound. Well, hey, you lost 1 pound. That's awesome. Keep going. I hate when people say, I only lost this. I only lost that. Man, be thankful. Keep working.
Hell yeah. And don't let some self-imposed goal or deadline that you fail to make just discourage you and derail you from staying on your long term. Your lifetime, your life change. You're going to have to do this the rest of your life. This is a marathon. This ain't going to happen overnight.
No. And the thing about it too, it's dawned on me over time. It's like people put a deadline on it, but like we don't even know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. Like tomorrow's not even guaranteed. We could be talking here 1 minute and God forbid, the next day one of us is not here. And by the way, I do not want that to happen because I think you're pretty damn awesome. And I don't want any of us to go. But the point of it is what I'm trying to make. It's a little bit of a drastic point, but it's like we're not even guaranteed tomorrow. So how can we set a deadline on something tomorrow's not even guaranteed? You got to live every day to the fullest potential.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? You just got to live it to the fullest potential and do as much as you can. Do the best that you can day in and day out, because tomorrow you may not wake up. You better kiss your wife. You better tell her you love her every night, man. You better go to bed knowing that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do this, but it's not guaranteed.
There are no guarantees. You know, life owes you nothing, man.
That's right.
You only get what you get. You only get out of it what you put into it.
You got that right, brother. You got that right.
So yeah, so you got to put it in. You got to put in the work, as DDP says. You got to put in the work.
Hey, a wise man once said, "Hard work always wins."
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And people, they say, that's not true. You know, you work so hard, you don't always win. I said, bullshit. If you're not winning, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So let me ask you this. When you look a couple of years down the line, the next 3 to 5 years, ideally, what are some of your next goals? I mean, obviously you're at 200 pounds right now, which is an incredible thing. And right now, I know we're not in the same room, but I'm going to give you a virtual fist bump. Right, that's amazing. But when you look at like the next couple of years, what's your roadmap look like? What are some goals you want to accomplish, both fitness and just life goals in general?
I want to get down to 175.
Okay.
I want to be able to say I lost 300 pounds.
That's incredible.
And I want to make that doctor tell me to stop losing weight.
Love that.
That doctor's told me all my life to lose weight. I want, I've got a female doctor, Dr. Pokerell, who is amazing here locally. But I want to make her say, I submit, you gotta stop losing weight.
I love that. I love that so much. That's amazing. That's amazing. Is there anything that before you couldn't do because of your size that now you want to do, or something you were able to recently do? You know, any kind of like crazy things? Like for me, it was roller coasters. I used to never be able to fit on those, and now you can't get me off of them.
Well, being 475 pounds, there's lots of things that you pull yourself back from in life. Flying, I didn't want to fly. For the hassle of going through the security, I didn't even know if I could get my shoes back on.
Yeah.
And being that heavy, you've got to even go to the bathroom. If you've got to, go number 2, you got to have a tool to help you reach your ass to wipe it.
I hear. I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, there's people don't understand the problems that someone that large has, and going to any type of sporting events, thinking whether I can get in there and get up the stairs and sit down in the seat, fit in the seat. You avoid things in life that other people take for granted. You make life. You've got to make sacrifices and adjustments to your life to be able to live the life that normal people live.
Definitely.
But for goals, I could tell you that we've become a lot more active outside, active lifestyle. I've paid for and signed up for my first triathlon sprint. Do you know anything about a triathlon sprint?
Never heard much about them. Tell me all about it. I'm curious.
It's in the I don't know if I'm saying if it's triathlon. I think it's triathlon.
Okay.
There's Ironman, and then there's all levels. Ironman, of course, is that's the big kahuna.
Yeah.
You got Olympics. I don't know them all, but there's an Olympic triathlon. There's a regular triathlon. Then the baby triathlon is called a sprint.
Right.
And so the baby is like the beginner triathlon, the sprint, and the sprint consists of 300 to 500 meter swim, 10 to 15 mile bike ride, and a 2 mile to 5K walk. I walk, I won't run.
Yeah.
But and it's timed. Most of them are timed, some of them aren't. But you do it, you do swim, bike, and then run. And I paid for one April 7th called the Caveman Triathlon in Flower Mound, Texas.
Yeah.
It's a beginner triathlon series, and I'm going to compete. I'm going to do a triathlon April 7th.
You are going to smash the shit out of that triathlon, Vance.
So, yeah, I'm pretty pumped, and I want to do it. I don't know if I can ever run. I tried to do a 1 minute jog, 1 minute walk deal.
Yeah.
I've been walking. I can walk a pretty good distance, but my knees killed me. My right knee's still killing me from that trying to do that. I did that jog run. I did it for about 3 miles.
Right.
My right knee's killing me, man.
Dude,
still it.
I hear you. I got arthritis like you would not believe. I need to get back on this yoga thing to add on to my normal gym routine so I can get my body back in decent, condition as far as, how I feel. Cause I know that yoga, not only does it help you lose the weight and all that, but it actually makes your body feel better, which is, who can imagine that, right?
I mean, I'm mad at DDP because if I don't do it, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
It's almost like crack cocaine. I got to do it. But what's wonderful about it is that it allows you to do other things in your life that you never could have done before.
Yes.
I can just bend over and tie my shoes with both hands. I mean, shit, I couldn't do that when I was a kid.
Isn't that crazy?
I always had a belly. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's just it allows you to do the things that you want to do, and it just it's a liberating and it's a freedom, and it's allowed me to think about doing the bike riding. Hell, I rode a bike 30 miles.
Wow.
2 or 3 weeks ago, I rode a bike. Just went out one afternoon, started riding, and rode it 30 miles. And that's the farthest I've ever done. But and I've swam 4,000 meters before.
Wow. Now, how far is that? Like, if you're thinking of like your average Olympic size pool, how many times back and forth is that? Well,
the pool I swim in is 25 meters, so
okay.
Down and back's 50 meters.
Okay.
So I've got to. So I have, math. You're making me do math now. You're gonna get me in trouble.
I'm terrible with math.
2,000 meters would be 40 laps.
Okay. Wow.
So 4,000 meters would be 80 laps.
Brother, I'm gassed out at 5 laps.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing 2,000 meters every Monday night for a while.
Yeah.
And the last 2 Monday nights I did it. I was out of town this past one, but the 2 Monday nights before that I did 2,500 meters. So it takes me a little over an hour and a half to do 2,500 meters. I'm slow, but I'm doing it.
That's the whole point. It's like you said, this is opening up possibilities for things that were simply not possible at one point in time.
Hell no.
Go back and tell yourself of 2-3 years ago that this is what's going to happen. And you probably would have said, hey, what drugs are you on? And can I have some?
That's right. That's right. I mean, I couldn't walk to the mailbox without getting winded.
Yeah, I had a similar thing where I live in an apartment building and going up one flight of stairs killed me. Yes. Like I get up to the top of the stairs and my wife said, like, are you dying? Do I need to call an ambulance? Because it was so difficult. And so when I got to the gym, probably about 6 months in, after I started to get used to the treadmill and it's like, okay, let's try something different, I gravitated towards the stair stepper. And the first time I got on it, I was blown up at like 5 minutes. And I think I might have went like 10, 15 floors. I kid you not, by the end of the year, this would have been around December of 2017, I climbed 337 floors.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Dude, I tell you what, and those stairs still beat me up, but I'll go up there and get on there with the best of them and give it my best shot, Yeah,
you just do what you can. And that's why I tell these people starting out just to go slow, listen to your body. If you need a break, take a break. If you can't do it one day, don't do it. I mean, you listen to your body.
That is so key because sometimes we feel the pressure to push and we want to push harder and harder. And it's like, no. Patience. Remember that very first pillar, patience. Yeah, God, that thing is key, man.
Absolutely. And, I can't preach the DDPY program enough, but I can tell you that, they give you all this and the whole if you do the app,
yeah,
CDs don't cost a whole lot, but if you do the app, it's $100 a year if you pay annually.
Right.
You get all the exercises, you get recipes, food programs, you get motivational Mondays, you get just a ton of stuff. And, for the money, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, this is how far back I go with it. I still have the DVDs. I never came across the phone app, but back in 2013, the DVDs were still his main thing. So we have the set of, I think it's like 2 or 3 DVDs, and then there's like the poster and the book with all the recipes in it.
Well, do the app. Try the app out. You can try it out 7 days for free.
Yeah.
And also check out the Facebook group called DDP Yoga.
Okay.
And it's all one word. And you talk about a super positive, super, uber positive group. It's unbelievable social media support group out there. And I mean, it's just a wonderful environment, a wonderful group community to be part of.
Definitely. I'm going to have to, as we wrap up here, I want to have you give out where you're at social media wise. I want people to find you that haven't already, people that maybe are my audience. I want them to come and find you. You mentioned you have a Twitter. Where are you at on Twitter?
I'm LawDog1515, LAWDOG 1515.
Okay. I'm going to get you on there right now. And then where Instagram, that's my full-time hangout. I love Instagram, man. Where are you at on the Instagram?
It's Vance_Hinds.
Okay.
HINDS.
Perfect. People that are listening to me that are on Instagram, which is most of my audience, this is where I built the audience, is from Instagram. I'd bring people from Instagram, complete strangers, bring them on the podcast and interview them. So people of Instagram, one more time, what is the handle?
It's Vance, VANCE,
yes.
_Hinds, HIND as in David, S as in Sam.
Listeners of the podcast, stop what you're doing right now. Minimize the podcast app, open up Instagram, and go follow this man right now. Like, stop what you're doing. I want you to just stop what you're doing and follow this man right now. Go hit him up and watch this man's story unfold right before your eyes. It is an incredible story. You've heard some of it here today. You got to go see the visual. The only thing I'll tell you, man, you got to put some more side-by-sides on your profile, man, because I think that's a hell of a story right there.
Yeah, you need to, you might check out my my blog and podcast too. I've got a blog and
oh my
podcast.
God, yeah, so we got to talk about this. You're a blogger and a podcaster.
Well, aspiring might be a better aspiring podcaster and blogger, but
fair enough.
My website is extrausual.com.
Extrausual.com.
Yeah, and the podcast is Extra Usual.
Okay.
And I have chronicled my journey on that website, extrausual.com. You can see all my meals. You can see my exercises, my diaries. I'm behind a couple of months. I didn't expect to blow up all of a sudden, but I'm behind. But yeah, I've chronicled about 9 months of my journey on there, and I keep it posted up. Post things on there, and I've got about 13 episodes of podcasts loaded. And my podcast, I try to interview people that are extra usual or extraordinary, that something that we can learn, take away something positive in their life, something we can, I kind of just go through their life story and, look for positive things we can learn from them. And, I've interviewed some unbelievably interesting and cool people on there so far. I've only got 13 up. I got 4 more. I got to get loaded. I'm doing another one this weekend. So it's been a wonderful. I'm just starting to get my podcast going, but
look at you.
But I'm trying, man. I'm trying to be like you. I'm trying to model like you, man.
I love it. What you're telling me, the premise for your podcast, I love that. I'm going to go subscribe when we finish up, because I like that. And the thing about it is too, when you talk about the life story and everything, I love that people, when I've been a guest on a couple of podcasts, and they'll ask about the weight loss, and that's cool. But when you get into the life story and you understand where somebody's come from, I'm actually writing a book right now, and I wanted to chronicle my weight loss journey through the book. And what I realized was there's no way I could just pick up when I started. I got to pick up from the beginning. Like, you got to know where you came from in order to understand where you're going.
Absolutely. The, you're going to have to come on my podcast. You're going to have to do my podcast now.
100%. You let me know. I'm in. You can't get me on that thing fast enough.
I've never done one over Skype. So this is my first podcast experience over Skype. So all the people I've interviewed, I've done in the same room with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, after our talk today, we have got to meet up at some point. It's going to happen. I have a feeling we are brothers now. We are friends now. I really believe that. And that's what I love about this community. It just brings everybody together. And I've made so many friends. There's one person I want to point you to on Instagram. You got to go follow her and her husband. This girl, Lexi, she's lost over 300 pounds.
Damn.
She's called Fat Girl Fed Up. And her husband has lost just about 100 pounds, discovering Danny. I met these guys in November. It's when we talk about the power of the community and meeting people and making new friends. I met them. They came on the podcast. You could actually go back for people that are hearing this for the first time, Gary'sPodcast.com, and check out their story.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And did I see this right? Do you also have your own YouTube? Am I seeing this right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Doghouse 15151515. I wanted the Doghouse logo, and there was a whole bunch of other Doghouses, so I ended up with Doghouse 15151515. Not my best naming channel.
Yeah, you might want to go play those numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
15. Okay, good God, I gotta try to remember this now.
Yeah, and I only had about 65 followers until that video went live, and now I got I don't know. Last I checked, it was 1,400. I don't know.
That's incredible, man. Your story is moving people. And if they don't watch that video and walk away with some sort of inspiration, they have no heart. I got to tell you, because this story is incredible. You are incredible. And I got to tell you, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on this podcast and share the story with my listeners. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I'm like you. I feel like we bonded. We got similar interests,
Definitely. And all the similarities with the weight loss and Bert and Dallas, we both met these people and have interacted. I mean, how many more boxes can we check off here?
That's right.
So everybody listen to me right now. Go follow this man, Vance_Hinds, Instagram, Twitter, you gotta get this guy's story. It's absolutely incredible, folks. Check it out.
All right, Gary, I appreciate it, man.
Vance, thank you so much, man. We'll be in touch. Want to give a big shout out to my Patreon podcast producers, Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Amy at Gem of the Gym, GEM of the GYM. Check these fine people out. They're supporting me on Patreon, and they're doing amazing things on their Instagrams. Make sure you check them out. And by the way, if you want to support this podcast, the best way to do it is right through Patreon for as little as $1. And let me tell you what, you may not think $1 sounds like a lot, but $1 goes a very long way to helping this podcast, to pay server costs, to continue to make the equipment better, to give me more time to do more incredible things with this podcast. So starting out at $1 is a great help. If you want to pay a couple of more dollars, $4 a month, you will get this podcast early. You will get it ad free. And you will get access to my Instagram close friends group, which is a private stories where I'm doing stories just for this group, where a lot of it's just kind of like behind the scenes stuff that I don't post, obviously, on my regular story. For $10 a month, you can become one of the 10 Patreon podcast producers. Just like Daryl, just like Amy, you can get your name shouted out with your Instagram handle right here on the show, a plug for you every single week waiting for you at the end of the show. in addition to everything else I mentioned, the ad-free early access to the podcast, close friends group. For $20 a month, we're doing the Hard Work Squad tier, and that's where you get a shirt. And I tell people all the time, join this tier for 1 month, okay? It's the cheapest way to get one of my shirts, $20 a month. You get the shirt, you pay for one time, get the shirt, and then just drop your tier down $4, $10, $1. I don't care. But you get your shirt because the shirts on the store cost $25 and then plus $5 for shipping. You sign up for this tier one time and you pay one time and you get a shirt at $20 flat. Boom. Done. And then you just drop down to the $4 or the $10 or the $1, whatever you want to do. At the $50 tier, you get a shirt one time as well. You get everything I mentioned, ad-free access to the podcast, commercial free. You get it early. You get the close friends. You also get access to the Hard Work Always Wins close friends on Instagram tab there, the behind the scenes access to the brand, as well as exclusive discounts not offered anywhere else, just for the close friends of the Hard Work Always Wins. But most importantly, for the $50 tier, I call this one the Let's Chat tier. And once a month for up to 1 hour, we can jump on a video call and talk about whatever you want. Maybe you're struggling, with the mental mindset of weight loss or whatever. We can jump on the phone for up to an hour once a month and just talk it out. Whatever it is you want to talk about, we can talk about it. And that's the way that you can support me on Patreon. Every dollar that I get for Patreon goes right back into this podcast. Every single last dollar, whether it's paying server costs, eventually upgrading equipment. I want to eventually do a video element. I want to eventually get this podcast at a point where I can afford to go and meet every one of these guests in person and talk to them, not on Skype, but talk to them in person. I want to be able to afford to do these things. So your donation of the podcast is only going to make this podcast even better, and we can do amazing things with your help of the Patreon. And that's it. So if you want to help out, the link is patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I will catch you guys next week. And that's it. I'm out of here. We'll talk soon. Let me tell you guys about hardworkalwayswins.com. It's not just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it. I wear it. I live it. And I want you guys to rep it today. Join the squad. We got t-shirts. We got beanies. We got hats. We got tank tops, hoodies, phone cases, you name it. We got it just in the store as of this week. I am worth the fight. Are you worth the fight? Damn right you're worth the fight. So get the shirt and show everybody what's up. We got Fight Like Hell for the Life You Want. We got the 4 pillars. We got the original OG Hard Work Always Wins shirt in many different designs. All you got to do is head over to hardworkalwayswins.com, enter the code SQUAD at checkout, and I'm going to take 10% off your very first order. That's right. I'm doing that. I went there. So go to the store, check it out, find what you want, add that code SQUAD at checkout, and join the Hard Work Squad today.